Why, hello YouTube. This is Baylor Mage again, and we're bringing a little bit of a different video. I have compiled myself a little bit of a list of the 8 things that I got the most excited about in this content reveal trailer. So, somewhat of a TLDR, but also just the eight most important things that excited me personally. So the first one is one I have not seen on anyone else's list. The first one stands out to me probably more than anything else in this list, and it doesn't even revolve around gameplay. The first and most important thing for me that I noticed is the opening cinematic. The opening cinematic in the Path of Exile 2 content reveal looked so good and so polished. I wasn't even aware that really any gaming company outside of Blizzard was capable of making a cinematic this good. Everything about it is crisp. Everything about it is detailed. It is so good. It gets me incredibly hyped for the game. I just have not seen cinematic artwork, audio, lighting, everything like this in a game not made by Blizzard, and I certainly haven't seen anything near this level from Grinding Gear games before. That excites me a lot. I'm wondering quite a bit whether there will actually be a bunch of different cinematics in the story, because one thing that, and I hate to compare to Blizzard too often, but one thing Blizzard has always done better than PoE and better than most other gaming companies in existence is they tell a story, and they tell a story so much better than everybody else. And in large part, it's because of how good the cinematics are and how many of them there are. So I'm really hoping that there'll be more cinematics than just that opening one. I hope that we get them during the campaign. I feel like I already know almost as much lore about PoE 2 than I know about PoE 1 that I've played for like 25,000 hours now. I know next to nothing about the PoE 1 lore because they do not tell you the story. There is a story if you go looking for it, if you go reading little lore items around the place and staying in zones too long, and like the story's there, and I know the story's good, but they don't do any remotely useful job of telling me about it. PoE 2 looks like they're going to be able to tell me a story. That is something I'm very, very excited for. I know it's just going to be the campaign, really. And I know PoE players tend to not care about the campaign. I do. I still enjoy the PoE 1 campaign. I know I'll run this campaign 600,000 times over the next 10 years. And even when I get to the point where I'm skipping everything and skipping the cinematics and everything like that, it'll be really cool if I know the lore. So I'm making a big point about that one because for me personally, seeing the cinematic like that made a huge difference. The rest of these are all game related. So point 2, the thing that I'm the most excited about from this reveal trailer or just in general is the way we pick our skills, which has changed a little over time. And now in Path of Exile 2, instead of dropping a skill on the ground or buying one from a vendor, there will not be a vendor as far as I know. There may be quest rewards, but no vendor to just buy skills from. But when you drop an uncut skill gem, you will just get to pick what skill you want it to be. And that means there's no more class restriction on leveling weird things. There's no more, oh, I've got to go to my hideout and buy gems from that vendor. Or there's no more, oh, I'm sorry, I started a witch. I don't have this ranger skill that I wanted to use because I was doing something a little bit off normal. I don't have this minion skill because I started a marauder, but I was planning on making a marauder minion. All these problems with PoE 2 that I've voiced a lot with PoE 1, sorry, all these problems in PoE 1 that I've voiced a lot, where the class restriction on skills doesn't suit the overall thematic of being able to like the whole point of Path of Exile to me is I can play anything on anything. And then, yeah, you can play anything on anything, as long as you can log into a high level character and buy all the things you need to begin with, or if you wait until level 60 and then do a full respec, or like things like that, has always been just like a sore point of mine. Path of Exile 2 fixing that is fantastic. The second half of that is that there doesn't appear to be any socket colors in the game at all anymore. It seems as if every single class can put on any single gem. Doesn't matter what gear you're wearing. There are no colors for the supports either. You will notice that the supports themselves do have color. We do still have a blue support, a green support, a red support, but there's no socket color associated with it. So you can just, LMP just goes in if there's an empty socket. Controlled destruction or whatever other support we will just go in. There's just no, doesn't matter if you're walking around wielding a crossbow, you want to put blue supports in there, it'll just go in. No chromes, no worrying about anything. I always found that to be just kind of an annoyance. Realistically nowadays, you can off color anything you want to any colors you want in PoE 1. It's never been so big of a hindrance that it stopped me from playing a build. It's usually just been, this is annoying and frustrating. I have to sit at this crafting bench for a little bit and just sit here until I get the correct colors on everything. And yeah, okay, finally we've got that now. I can go play. Problem solved. Absolutely love that. Third thing, number 3. This might, I don't know how people feel about this yet. I know how I feel about it. I don't know how people feel about it. They did tell us, and I believe they told us a few weeks ago as well, support gems will only be single use on your whole character. My initial thought when I first heard that was, oh no, please don't. And then I saw some lists of support skills and I saw how many there were, and then I thought, oh, but I get so many active abilities and I've got so many supports. And then I thought, wait, that becomes way more interesting. Now, sure, I can put multi-proj on something, but then if I put multi-proj on my crossbow attack, then I can't put it on my grenades, but my grenades could have ink AoE. But if my grenades had ink AoE and multi-proj, they might overlap. Okay, well, what about my crossbow thing? Can I put chain on it or pierce? Like there's going to be a bunch of different decisions where I'm going to move support gems around between skills that otherwise, if they didn't do this restriction, I would just be like, okay, well, all 4 of these abilities are just going to have, all 4 of them are going to have multi-proj and all 4 of them are going to have pierce, and then okay, now I've got these extra 2 supports here and those might be different. But so many of them will already be accounted for. And this happens in PoE 1 right now. If you've got a character that can use multiple skills, you tend to find that 4 or sometimes 5, and sometimes all of them, if it's a mana forge, if you've got multiple mana forge setups, but 4 or sometimes even 5 supports between different skills are just the exact same list. So this restriction, so to say, doesn't actually restrict us as much as it feels like it opens up every other option. This feels like it's definitely giving me a lot more to play with rather than a lot less to play with. So I kind of love that. Right, the fourth thing that excites me is every single ascendancy looks so very vastly different that like the entire identity of the character changes, and there's actually been a bit of a problem with that in PoE 1 somewhat recently. There's a lot of classes that overlap. There are still some classes that do stand out and like stick out as like, oh, this is this archetype exactly, and it obviously plays like that. But like overall between all of them, there's a lot of identity lost, and I have been missing that. Like I don't know when the last time I've seen a trap or mine saboteur instead of trickster. I don't remember the last time I saw a minion build that wasn't just a necromancer or occasionally a guardian. This looks, even within the same class, the two different kinds of witch, the two different kinds of ranger, the two different kinds of, like, all the we've only got two ascendancies right now, and they look so vastly different in their playstyles that I feel like I'm going to have to play every currently available ascendancy for at least several days before I even know which one I want to play. My biggest problem with this right now is that I want to play for a month before the game launches so that I can know what I want to play, because everything looks fun, everything looks so different than everything else, and I don't feel like there's any homogenization between those classes right now. Granted, there are a lot more classes to come out still, so maybe there'll be some overlap later on, but for now I want to play absolutely everything that's available. Big surprise here, Baylor over here, anti-melee person, actively wants to play that warrior. That looks real fun. I literally want to play all of them. Right, number 5, very small point. Demon Mummy. I don't know how I'm going to pass up playing this class. I'm probably not going to league start it, but it might be the second class, and it might be quickly. You just get to wander around as a demon. What is this? How this one makes me real excited. I thought Druid was going to be our only shape-shifting class. Turns out this is sort of a shape-shifting class, just into a demon. Now I'm also wondering if there's going to be more. Obviously we'll get Druid relatively soon. That'll be another one. I wonder if there's more that we don't know about. Number 6, crafting. For anyone who didn't watch the entire presentation, what are you doing with your life? Watch the entire presentation. But crafting looks significantly better for someone who's at least for someone who's like a casual crafter or a non-crafter enjoyer, which is me. I don't do a lot of high-end crafting or anything like that, but between handing us way more exalts and regals and everything like that way early in the campaign, between the new way essences work, where instead of having 75 different mods and just, you know, a whole wall of text just guaranteeing you this exact modifier and then making it rare, there are now 2 versions of essences where I can, like, hey, guarantee a speed thing on this, and then aug it, and then be like, oh, I'm going to use the essence to regal it to guarantee also a life roll, and then now I've got life and movement speed and whatever I augmented, and then just being handed exalts to slam it even early in the campaign, and suddenly I'm able to make myself some at least life, movement speed, and maybe 2 resistance boots with relative ease. That's going to be pretty exciting. Then moving on into the end game, being able to combine omens with that. At first glance, I was a little worried that it didn't appear like we had a crafting bench anymore, and that's the extent of most of the crafting that I do, is throw essences on something, throw a benchcraft on it, and then run away. And I thought, oh man, not having benchcrafts is going to make this really hard. But now I feel like I'm probably going to engage in crafting way more than I ever have from Path of Exile 1. The one thing that I want to tell everybody is just to remind everyone, because it's going to be anti-normal in your brain. You're not going to want to be like, oh, I've found 2 exalts and 1 regal, I'd better save those. That's what you're going to think. My brain, at least, is going to default into, oh, I've already found a regal and 2 exalts. Yo, I'm going to hold on to them and buy something good. And nope, use them, craft some stuff. Even if you're only in Act 1, you just just craft some stuff, because the way they talked about it, an absolute ton of stuff, crafting materials, alts, regals, not alts, regals, augments, exalts, those sort of things. Absolutely ton of them are going to get fed to us very, very early. So I got to rewire my brain, get used to using those. All right. 7th on my list is the end game Atlas. This looks absolutely phenomenal. One, I need to stop and just appreciate how visually appealing this is. Like, compared to our current PoE 1 Atlas, which really feels a lot like just ticking a bunch of nodes to get passive points, and otherwise doesn't really feel like exploring at all. This, however, looks like I'm exploring a world. The fact that they're going to send it out infinitely in every direction is going to be pretty interesting. I'm very interested in how that works. I'm very interested in the fact that they've kind of made it a little bit Delve-like. It's definitely not Delve, but it is a little bit Delve-like in the way that we've got some biomes. Different maps will appear in different biomes. We've got extra things that are happening on it. We've got like those towers that we can add mechanics to the maps around it on. We've got corruption coming in there already, and this is just in the like beta release for us. Like, there's going to be way more, we know there is, but already sitting in here we've got like a pretty decently robust end game sitting here, just as the like early access or beta, whatever we want to call it. We're already looking at like a pretty in-depth like end game Atlas to run off. So I am just absolutely in love with this. I do hope some of these things get backported to PoE 1, but I don't think the Atlas is going to be one of them. I think that's a little bit too hard, unfortunately. One thing I will spoil, I'm definitely not supposed to know this, but several alpha people who have leaked things have been talking about maps. I've tried to stay away from most of it, but the one thing I have heard from several different people is that there really doesn't seem to be any terrible maps. It seems like the maps all range from this is a decent map to this is a great map to this is my favorite map. But there's no maps that people have been running where they're like, ugh, not this one, that's gross. There's no like cells equivalent or lava chamber equivalent or anything like that. So for everybody who's like worried about, oh, but now I'm gonna have to run a whole bunch of different maps, well, it seems like the floor for how bad a map can get got brought up really high, and so like the bad maps are still pretty goddamn decent. And with that in mind, I think I'm going to feel the variety of running a lot of different maps is going to feel a lot better than running the same map over and over again. The same map over and over again is what we do in PoE 1, and I do like it. It is something I do a lot of, but really I like it because I don't have to run any bad maps. That's the real reason. If you just get rid of all the bad maps, I'm probably pretty happy to run a bunch of different ones. And last, number 8, or I guess you could have called it 7.5, is the Atlas tree. The Atlas tree in Path of Exile 2 solves one of my biggest pet peeves from PoE 1. One of my biggest pet peeves from PoE 1 was, as much as I love the Atlas tree, and as much as I love being able to spec into whatever mechanics I like, I'm always just a little bit annoyed that it's absolutely not worth running the mechanic that I ran past that spawned in my map because I'm not spec'd into it. There happens to be a breach there, and even if I feel like running over the breach, almost no mobs are going to pop out, almost nothing is going to drop on the floor, and it's going to be a waste of my time because I'm not spec'd into breach today, or any other mechanic. Because of the way Path of Exile 2's passive tree works, I will still want to run over that breach. Running over that breach and engaging with it and doing more breaches will increase my breach passive tree, which we will not be able to fill out. It looks like, as far as I can tell, we will not be able to fill out the breach passive tree, but we will be able to max it out. So we'll have an amount of points. We'll have to pick how that's spec'd. We haven't seen what all of the trees look like, so I expect there's still going to be some variety in how people want to spec things. There's still going to be different ways to farm different mechanics, different ways to spec them. Specializations are going to be, there's still options there for it, but I'm not taking those points away from other things. So the important bit to me there is I can just do the breach, and then when I run over to a delirium, I can just do the delirium, and then I'll get a delirium point, and none of that takes away from my normal Atlas points. So essentially, I can still skip mechanics if I want to skip mechanics, but I'm not basically forced to, and it's not going to be a waste of my time to run over that breach hand just because, oh, I'm not farming breaches right now. Nope, I still have the breach specific points that came from the breach specific tree that didn't take away from any other part of the game. And that for endgame is going to feel amazing. All right, those are the 8 things that stand out to me the most. Absolutely enjoyed all like 1 hour and 20 minutes of the live presentation. Again, if you haven't watched it, you need to watch through the whole thing. You can't just rely on everybody's like top favorite picks and TLDRs, including mine. There'll be so much more in here. Everybody's going to have their own favorite things, and nobody's favorite things are going to line up with exactly what yours are going to be. So make sure you've gone and watched the whole thing because, oh, it's good. All right. That's all I have today. I will see everybody next time. Goodbye.